Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a true pleasure to be once again this year at the Women in Data Science Conference. And yes, data is the new code. And basically, not so long ago, let me see, do I have my presentation in the screen? Exactly. Not so long ago, in fact, 30 years only, which really is not that long ago, the world of paper and ink was what we lived on. I finished my degree in the year 2000, right in the change of the millennia, and all my degree was done on paper and ink. And it's I know it's hard to believe days where we didn't have internet and mobile phones and laptops, but that's the world that we all learn from. And then came software. And software, which actually was already around in the 90s and 2000s, basically, software became tireless, never slept, was faster than humans, started to replace people. But software was predictable. So that's the big difference also that's about this change between um, paper and ink to software to AI. Software it was a huge milestone forward, but it was predictable, it was rule based. And as a matter of fact, my PhD in computational linguistics and engineering, in the intersection of that, in the late 2000s, was precisely programming language, to be more specific, a whole front end for text-to-speech systems in the Portuguese from Portugal and Portuguese from Brazil. And it was a rule-based system because it was before the time of data. And then the thing about and then came the cloud, and came the cloud and a world where that could host a lot more data, and everything started to move from rules to data-driven training, and the word training started, and that was the beginning of AI. Suddenly, programmers started to be replaced by data scientists. And again, from code to data, where software was replaced by paper and ink, AI was now replacing software. And everything really started on data, which actually later in life, I started a company that is basically it's in the foundation of training data for AI. So my own path, in fact, my own career path, pretty much matches the transformation of the world that we have been experiencing from paper and ink to AI, and from ink and paper to data. And the fact is, AI is changing everything. AI is trained on data. Data scientists became the sexiest job in the 21st century, and everything started in the data part. And essentially, the problem with data is that data these days come from several sources. Comes from humans, and crowdsourcing plays a big role on that, whether it's intentional or not. Comes from devices, with all our devices communicating with the cloud and sending information about all the events that are happening. And it can also be synthetic and simulate all these events that both humans and devices live. So another thing about software versus AI is that while software is static and predictable, AI grows and evolves like a child, uh, like a child that is raised by its peers, by school, by experiences, and because in the same way we worry about how a child grows, we also have to monitor how our AI evolves and learns. The other thing about software versus AI is that the only way so far that we know to monitor AI is to provide them with highly structured data, data that is also unbiased, data that can be traceable, as well as the models. And so this is what happens. I'm sorry, I'm the wrong button. And this is what happens when an organization starts to consider AI for their next step of development of digital transformation. So a couple of things they have to happen when we're doing that leap. We have to consider the technology stack. The technology stack will decide whether what kinds of data we can ingest, how structured that data needs to be, and the amounts that can consume. We also have to deal with data privacy, and depending on the country that we operate, it's particularly more narrow. We need to the whole labeling structuring of the data is an ontology creation. Ontology meaning the knowledge that we create around the knowledge structure we create so the models can reason. This is a big part of actually what we've been doing at my company, and it's a big part of what data scientists have to consider as well when they're training models. We have to consider diversity of the data, the sources of the data, the ethics about the sources and the usages of that data, and the traceability most and foremost, which means if your model is caught in a reasoning in the wrong way, you have to be able to find the model version and rebuild it, or add to the gap of that model. A very clear example is really what happens with bias models, which is something that everybody talks about a lot. And a lot of the times, what you need is not to erase the model, but to add the outliers, or to add the type of data that is missing, um, like in our field of language, uh, dialectal different dialects in different dialects in different models, which it's exactly the next thing about that I'm talking about. So human languages are all based in data. In fact, they are. This is the story. This is basically my passion of life. I've been working with human languages in the last 20 years. Um, we moved from command and control voice systems to conversational AI, and the amounts of data, the structure, the levels of data from phonetics to morphology to syntax to semantics and pragmatics, and the coverage, the representation of people that it's required, moved from a couple of hours and dozens of hours in the early days where things had to be programmed by software to thousands of hours of structured data. So, so the applications in AI these days are human. You can see them in human computer interaction. You see them in the Googles and the Siris of the world. And you see them in a lot of natural language processing applications as well, like search and machine translation and sentiment analysis and named entity recognition, etc. The other usage of data that you and AI that you start to see is going to be law. So AI really will start to go to every dimension of our life, from customer experience to predictions of laws and litigations and contract reviews. In the law case, again a language, has to do with the human language specificity, but also, and because of that, you will see a lot of natural language processing applications on law, and you start seeing a lot of companies. It's $1 trillion industry. It definitely will be affected as well. The other one is medicine. And medicine is already, I mean, with the combination of robotics, it becomes even more powerful because, again, it makes less mistakes than humans. And you see already recognition of cancer in digital scans. You see automatic diagnosis. You see conversational AI as well, starting to embed in telemedicine, which was more and more needed with COVID-19 and the need to stay home and have check-ins with nurses and doctors online. And the list will go on to a point where we're doing already surgeries with robots assisted. Education, obviously, and again, the same thing with education. We are moving to a personalized world more and more. We will not learn anymore from a one single school system. It will be adapted to the person's needs and to the person's interests. And we will start collecting a lot of the data that will inform the AI teachers to perform a part of those a big part of the school system support. Another one is in climate. We are already collecting a lot of data through devices. We are able to, we have a pretty good understanding as humanity about climate change and earthquake prediction and storms prediction. And we can act preventively before a lot of these things happen because we are collecting all the data. And what about the future? Well, right now, some people say we are in phase one of AI, of the AI generation. It's called narrow intelligence or artificial narrow intelligence. And so this type of AI is what exists today. It's meant to resolve one single problem, and in isolation, because we still cannot make sense of a combination of systems and different AIs talking to each other, or different systems of AI talking to each other. Examples of these are our Google assistants, the Google Translates, Siri, search engines. So all of these things resolve limited aspects of our needs. The next phase will be general intelligence, which actually starts to blend with conscious intelligence. And the third level is a super AI aspect or type of AI, which is the one that will surpass human intelligence. And it's a lot of the things that are being talked in the future. Well, we left the code era to man in the last 30 years, and look at where it got us. Ladies, because it's the Women's Day, and I'm in front of so many women data scientists, let's lead the world to a better future together. Thank you very much.